All right, we're now live.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Gwen Whistler. I'm the chair of the Finance and Human Resources Committee, and I'd like to welcome you to our May 24th remote meeting. All council committee members and staff are participating virtually. We appreciate your patience as we continue to work through holding these committee meetings a bit differently. To help our audience follow along, excuse me, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city's website. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone. For those of you out there with us today, welcome. For today's meeting, we have the option for people to call in and comment live during the meeting. To call in and comment, use the same number, 855-925-2801, meeting code 5257. Your phone will be muted and you will hear the meeting live. At this point, speakers will need to push *3 to enter the speaker queue. So I'm going to do a roll call of the committee members and staff and just ask you to say a quick hello and remind you that if you're not speaking, to mute your microphone. So we'll start out. Councilwoman Sandra Kilgore.
Good afternoon.
Councilwoman Sage Turner.
Good afternoon.
City Manager Deborah Campbell.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Do I have Peggy? Oh yeah, sorry. Interim Assistant City Manager Peggy Rowe.
Hello, everyone.
Finance Director Tony McDowell.
Good afternoon.
Assistant Finance Director Becky King.
Good afternoon.
Budget Manager Taylor Floyd.
We gave Taylor the afternoon off since.
Oh, good. All right.
He's got to be on tonight.
And Urban Planner 2, Sasha Vertunsky.
Good afternoon.
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and start the agenda. And, just so people can follow along, I'll say what's next on the agenda. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Do I have any questions or changes to the minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Okay, thanks. And so I'll do a roll call. Councilwoman Kilgore.
Aye.
Councilwoman Turner.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. So the next item is the CFO update. So I'm going to turn that over to Tony McDowell, our Finance Director. Tony, take it away.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Only one item on today's CFO update, and that's introduction of new staff. A couple of meetings ago, I think it was 2 meetings ago, we did an introduction of finance department staff, and we've had some turnover since then, like a lot of departments here at the city and a lot of organizations across the country. We've lost some folks, but we're in the process of replacing folks, and we have one key new hire to introduce today. It's our new accounting manager, and her name is Susan Darnell. Susan is going to be supervising the staff that works closely with Becky King on our year-end audit. They also handle our grants and our fixed assets and our general ledger maintenance as well. So I'll let Susan do a quick introduction of herself.
Thanks, Tony. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all on this side of things. It's good to be with the city. I have a background in public accounting, so I've worked for the past 10 years with a local accounting firm doing audits of nonprofits and governments and benefit plans and some for-profits. So yeah, it's good to be on this side of things. I'm originally from Greensboro, North Carolina. I went to school at Appalachian State, where I got my bachelor's and my master's degree. So I've been in Nashville for about 10 years now. Yeah, and I'm just really excited to work with Becky and Tony and the rest of the team.
Well, that's great. Welcome, Susan. And the one thing you did forget to mention in your background is you were a member of our audit committee. So we'll be, so you you saw a little bit of the inside of the city working there. So, but again, welcome. Really appreciate you joining the team.
Thank you.
So anything else, Tony?
No, that's it.
Okay, looking forward to the intro of the budget tonight. And then the next item is an update on the audit from Becky King.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so first of all, I am super excited to have Susan as well. She is, I guess this is week 2 for her. And she has jumped right in, taken a lot of just the day-to-day tasks off my plate, which have been super helpful. So very excited to have her as part of the team and here for year end. So we had an initial meeting with our auditors back in March. We went through kind of some of the findings from last year just to make sure that we were prepared to not have those again this year. We talked about any changes, new GASB standards for this coming year, and then kind of went through a timeline of everything. Excuse me. We will be doing preliminary field work the middle of June. They will be on site for that, assuming nothing changes. And then we will do final field work the middle of September. And it is our goal. We have already made this very clear to them that we would like to issue October 31st. So that is our goal right now. We did a communication out to all staff members. We close our books in the middle of August. So we've already done a communication out to staff members about deadlines as to when things are due. Those deadlines, some of those have come and gone already, but people are doing a good job of staying on task. So I think we will have a good close. So the new things for next year, GASB 87 is the big thing. It's a new leasing standard that we have to implement. It's been in the works for a number of years, been pushed off for a number of years, but this is our year to get it on the books. We actually decided to go with an outside organization, Debt Book. They are helping us implement this. They have all of our lease agreements. They are currently reviewing them. And we should have in the next couple of weeks, all of that back from them so that we can start doing journal entries, getting everything entered for year end. I do not think we should have an issue getting that implemented before we have to have a trial balance to the auditors in September. So I think we are good on that. So last year, of course, we had a couple of findings, or actually one finding. It was all about year-end processes. So the big things that I guess I just wanted to go through are loan receivables, CDBG, Section 108 Housing Trust Fund. We had some issues with those last year. I have actually worked with community and economic development throughout the year to make sure that we had good balances on that. So I think we should be good on that aspect. Compensated absences and LGERs. I'm already working with our actuarial to get LGERs information to them. So hopefully we will have that early. We can really review those calculations before we send anything to the auditors. So I'm confident that we will be okay on that aspect as well. The other big one was grants. I know we had some revenue for grants that was reported incorrectly. And as Tony said, with the being understaffed for a while, honestly, I think I'll be taking on grants for year end because that's just where we are right now. So I'm just going to make sure we do a good dive into everything before we're posting it. So I think we'll have a good year end. I never know what small little things will pop up, but I think especially with the addition of Susan, we will be well prepared. I think we will have a full staff except one accountant, but it's the same people we've had for the last couple of years. So we definitely are moving in the right direction. So I think we should be good. Any questions or comments about anything?
Yeah, just a quick question, Becky. Is there anything weird from an accounting perspective with ARPA? You know, I mean, like receiving the funds or, I don't know, dispersing the funds, things like that you're aware of. It's just, I mean, when I was thinking about like what's unusual this year, you know, that would be the one that, I don't know, just wondering about that.
So since we just approved everything to go to the outside organizations, I actually do not think we will be dispersing any money in fiscal year 22. I actually think that will be a 23 a fiscal year 23 something. We did have a couple of expenditures for ARPA last year and again this year. So I think this year we're going to be okay. I don't think there's anything really new. I talked with our auditors a long time last year about how to report those funds, and we're good for now. I definitely think the pass-through, our sub-recipient reporting will be a little different, and that will start next year. Honestly, I don't think our reporting will be much different, but I definitely know that there's a lot of monitoring, extra testing that they will have to do next year. So I don't expect anything to come of it this year. I think it's when we start actually sending out some of those payments, and I don't think that will happen until fiscal year 23.
Okay,
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, as a really nice going away gift for me, because this is pretty near and dear to my heart, I would love to have a clean opinion this year. No notices, no, material weaknesses. I mean, it would make me really happy.
So Gwen, that is my hope as well.
That is you want to give that to me too?
I do want to give that to you too. No, and I do. My plan, since Susan is so new, is I am definitely going to take the lead on the audit this year. I think what I'll do is have her do a lot of the work papers, and then that will give me a chance to do a more high-level review of them before we are sending them to the auditors. We did not have that last year, and I'm hoping that will enable me to find any of our discrepancies on my own before we pass it off to them. And that was really what the finding from the last 2 years were, is that we just did not have enough set of eyes, enough review internally before we sent it to them. So it is my hope too that we will have a clean opinion and that we will be done by October 31st. So
okay.
I am going to try and stick to that as to the best of my ability. I never know what's going to come up throughout the year, but yes, I am prepared to do my best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I was just going to add one quick thing. This is the last year with our current auditors. As you all know, we have a policy that we rotate audit firms. And so this will be the last year with PB mayors. And I can't remember what they were called before they became PB mayors. But we will, after they finish this audit, be doing an RFP and looking for a new audit firm. So.
Okay. Now, Tony, are we required, is our policy to actually change, or is it just to RFP it?
I believe, Becky, I don't know if you know this better than me, is it to actually change, or is it to do the RFP?
So Gwen, I believe it is just to do an RFP.
Right.
And I will tell you, I went to the NCGFOA conference just recently, and there are a lot of CPA firms who are no longer doing government. So people
Right.
are doing RFPs and just getting one response back. And it's normally the auditors who have been doing them for a while. And the LGC has said that you can continue as long as you have at least done the RFP and gone out and tried to get additional bids. So
Right.
I think it'll be interesting to see what we get next year.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like MSD, I know, they haven't changed audit firms in forever. But, part of that is because it's such a unique, it's not only government, but it's a unique utility. So
yeah,
it may be hard, but okay, great. So the next item on the agenda is land use incentive grants. And I'm going to turn it over to Sasha Verchinsky.
Thank you, Councilman Whistler. I'm going to join a second time so that I can see your faces. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, great. Thank you all. So I'm here to present this land use incentive grant request. Yeah, and this is for 217 Hilliard Avenue. And this is a micro housing project. So this project was a level 2 project that went through the planning process. It's for 80 units total. And the proposal is for 16 units, 20% to be affordable for 20 years at 80% or below of AMI, area median income. And so the points that they've applied to, or their application has this project qualifying for 21 years, and those are taxes above and beyond the current value of the land. One important point to understand is that this project has already received its zoning approval. So that means when it comes to council, and that will be in June, council, part of the request will be for a waiver, because in the policy it says that a project should have their LUIG approved before they receive zoning approval. Now, this project has not started construction or received building permits yet, so it's still kind of in that pre-building permit phase. And as you all probably know, I'm kind of new to this role, and so I've inherited this policy, and I think it's something we need to clarify because the policy says zoning approval and or building permits. So I think staff feels comfortable that it is, it's well before things have started and it's not under construction or anything like that. And so they haven't received a zoning permit yet. As I said, this is 80 units of microhousing on a very small part of land, and housing really represents 100% of the rentable square footage of this building. And it's 0.187 acres on Hilliard Avenue. And right now the developer is estimating the cost around $7.2 million. So right now what will happen is that when they actually get to CO and the county values the project for the tax value, we will take that value as the basis for the grant. So it will likely be much lower than 7.2 million, but that's the best number we have at the moment. So this is just a quick summary of the points that they have applied for. 20% affordable at 80% AMI, 10% of the total units, which really is half of your affordable units, will accept vouchers for those units. They get a lot of points just for their location because they're so well located and they're very close to our transit center. And energy efficiency and using the Greenbelt Home Standard certification and universal design gets them to 105 points or 21 years. So I apologize for all the words on the slide. It's a lot. But basically, currently for this portion of the land of the site, they are paying around $787 in taxes a year. So that will remain constant throughout the LUIG grant period. Using that 7.2 million value, we think that the property tax will be approximately $29,000 a year. And so we take the difference, and that would be the value they would pay their taxes, and then the city refunds that back. And that estimate, we estimated subsidy is around $37,000 per unit, which is, on the kind of lower half of our spectrum of subsidies. It is likely to be lower, as I said before. So, and then after year 21, the city will, start receiving the full tax amount. So here's just a really quick review if you're not familiar with this project. This is a infill lot on the back of a house, which is used as an office building. When you drive by there, when you look at the elevations, it looks like a big project. And at the same time, when you drive by, you realize how small a site this really is. So the historic home here on the site will remain. This is just an example floor plan. So these are the micro units on each floor. There's storage, there's a lounge, there's a larger kitchen. So micro units are similar to like an efficiency unit. I should say the developer, David Moritz and Scott Shapiro, are both here with us today if you have any questions for them. And so these are just floor plans, and then here are some elevations of the project. This went through our downtown design review process with the downtown commission and the design review committee. It's got a pretty good walk score and a decent bikeable score. HCD did review this at April 27th and voted 2 to 1 in favor of, approving the project. And staff is recommending approval, and that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions or questions for the developer.
In a case like this, with the shared kitchen, the larger shared kitchen, that kind of thing, is there this is just more curiosity than anything, not about this. I'm not about the grant, but is there a manager on site or anything like that in this case, or is it just?
I would ask the developer if they could speak to that, David, or.
Hi, Gwen, thanks for your question. My name is David Moritz, one of the developers. I'm local here to Asheville, and this is our attempt to try to address the need for workforce housing in Asheville downtown. And my business partner, Scott Shapiro, has done these types of projects before. And I think it depends on the size. Some of the projects will have on-site property managers. We haven't determined yet if we would have an on-site manager in the location, but there will be common area maintenance. So the kitchens, common areas will be cleaned by a janitorial service.
Okay.
And then each micro unit will have a microwave, a kitchen sink, and a mini fridge. So residents can do some food preparation in their own units as well.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm excited to see this project. It's like, I don't know that we have anything like this in Nashville. But so yeah, I'm pumped up about it. I think this is definitely something that young people, either really young people or old people, older than me, which makes them really old, would really like and be attracted to. And the location is fabulous. So I do have one question. It's interesting to me that our Luigi says that they need to get planning approval before getting getting kind of a go-ahead for Luigi. It seems, and actually I think this way makes more sense, to actually, to kind of bounce a project up against, does this make sense, so that the developer can kind of think about how to pencil out the numbers, rather than going through the whole phase of planning and spending all that money and counting on Luigi without getting some sort of nod or approval ahead of time. So it may be something that we as staff might want to look at, because I just kind of think this makes more sense. But that's just my 2 cents.
I was sorry. I was going to just say I agree, and I think that it may be that for CZs, it makes sense being at council at the same time. But for other projects that aren't CZs, that building permit maybe is the trigger. Like, do it before you pull, you get a building permit. Right.
I mean, especially if they're counting on, really counting on those funds. Yeah. Sage, you had your hand up.
Sasha, could you speak to any part of the existing Luigi policy that talks about micro units? I'm actually reviewing it right now, looking for the language, but I know there is some. Do you have it handy?
I do have it handy, and I'm not familiar with any language about micro units in this policy.
So, and this is interesting because I heard from our former housing and community development manager that there had been an amendment regarding micro units. I have not been able to find it. So if anyone on staff is able to find that, let me know. And then my other question is more for staff and perhaps Deborah. I'm wondering, when projects are able to adhere to the policy as written, could we move this to a staff administered program, and maybe they only come to council if they can't adhere to the policy? Is there a reason that we review every Luigi at HCD, at finance, and then I'm just curious? That's been discussed.
I would probably defer to legal or Deborah, but I would think because council is basically approving future tax revenues, I don't know that staff has the ability to do that. Deborah, I don't know if that's.
No, Sasha, I think you have a very good insight in terms of whether this could be an administrative process. We obviously could, and we already do this in terms of reviewing and making a recommendation, but I don't know that we could approve. But we'll certainly look into it. I mean, anything to make the process more efficient, we should be doing. And we think that we need to look at a number of our policies around affordable housing and our incentives. It's just time. I think we had a holistic look to see if they are accomplishing, and having the appropriate impact that we desire.
Well, and Sage and I were having a conversation earlier today, and I think looking at that and, maybe looking at this idea of land use incentives becoming, an administrative function, I think it might also help developers with, predictability. And we may have to, if we do come up with that ultimately, like that matrix of public benefits and that kind of thing, maybe that all gets wrapped up in, kind of the same idea. But I know that sometimes developers, get down the road and then get surprised that council isn't lockstep with staff on some things. So
Absolutely. Gwen, if I could just ask Sasha about this particular project, this is what we would call kind of by right. They didn't need any type of zoning approval. And so that part would not go to council, only the financial part. And I'm asking that because that relates to the first question about an administrative process. And I don't know in terms of if you don't have to get zoning approval, would it be possible for us to do it administratively? But it definitely is something we need to speak with legal about, because I think it would make the process run a lot more efficiently. I think, Tony?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, we definitely should follow up with legal, but it might be simply the amount of the financial commitment too, once it exceeds a certain dollar threshold, much like we have to do with all of our contracts and agreements, that they have to come to council for approval.
Right. So thanks, guys. I'm sorry to derail us on that. Maybe we can just put it in the list of things to process. And last comment will be that I agree with Gwen. I'm excited to see a different model show up in downtown. And, I feel like I'm constantly working on affordable housing, and there's this new sentiment in the community that as we work to get the deepest, lowest rents we can, there is this section of workforce that is not being served, that out qualifies for the lower incomes and can't quite afford the next tier. So this workforce housing issue is going to come to the surface a lot soon. And I'm just glad to see this potential model. And I'll be excited to kind of follow along. And I hope the developer will share some of their success or failure stories with us. Thanks.
Yeah, it would be really great to hear back from you kind of, down the road and informally or whatever. But, how's it work? And, to kind of give feedback to staff so that, if other developments like this come to staff, they can maybe share some of your wisdom in how this works.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We're very excited about the project and breaking ground relatively soon. And so far, the process with the city has been very smooth and staff has been great. So I think, when we're ready to break ground, we'd love to invite staff or city council to come join, and then we can also provide feedback along the way, more feedback.
Sandra, do you have any comments or?
No, I'm just excited that you get 80 units in that small space. That's amazing. I love it. So,
right. So does staff want a recommendation to forward this to council?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I think in the staff report, let's see.
Yes, that is our,
Okay.
that's our request.
It's really, really small on my screen, so I can't.
I guess the motion probably in the staff report is probably a motion to recommend that city council approves it. So you're recommending the city council.
You want me to move? I'm ready. I'll make
Okay.
a motion to recommend that city council approve the land use incentive grant application for Hilliard Flats LLC at 217 Hilliard Avenue.
I'll second.
Great. So with that, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Kilgore,
Aye.
Councilwoman Turner,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So thank you and good luck, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So Sasha, do you have anything more?
I have the next item. There's a
Okay.
Okay, so this is another similar to the last item. And this project is on your council agenda tonight. It is a CZ. And partly because of that policy thing, we take Luigi requests usually the same night as a CZ and usually before. So we wanted to make sure we got to finance today. We don't usually try to do 2 of these things in a day, but we are for this project. So this project is for 421 Broadway Street. It's for rental apartments. They are developing a building with 49 rental apartments in it. And this project is committing to 10 units at 20, which is 20% of the unit count, to be affordable for 30 years at 60% AMI or below. Additionally, 2 units or 5% will be affordable for 30 years at 80% AMI and below. This site is somewhat difficult to develop. The city has, we have participated in this project in that we sold them the corner lot at Cobble Street and Broadway at market value. So we didn't give them a special break on the price or anything, but we were able to sell the property directly to them in a negotiated sale. And we did that in exchange for a deed restriction. And I have them here in case we need to reference them, for 20% of the units for 30 years. So and that was the second. Actually, we did 2 pieces of property. First, it was for 25 years, and then they increased it to 30 years for the second piece of property.
And Sasha, was that at the 60% AMI or was that defined under the deed restriction?
I believe it was 80%. We were just talking to Janice about this earlier today.
And hi, this is Nikki Reed. It was 60%.
It was 60%.
Mhm, it was.
Thank you, Nikki.
And Sasha, just for clarity for those listening, like normally we wouldn't just go and sell a piece of land. It would be a public process. And part of what allowed us to do that is the 20% affordable that allows the city to do a direct sale, right? And so that is itself an advantage to the development.
Right. It is. And I just want to be clear that they did, because in some cases we sell property for less than market value. So this was market value price for these properties. So it's about 1.53 acres for the entire site. That building, we are not really looking at the tax value of the entire site. We're just looking at the portion of the site where the apartment building is. And for that building, housing is about 100% of that rentable square footage. So here's the site. It's located at the edge of Montford. You'll see it looks really to the south, just east of the Reed Creek Greenway. And the residential portion is about 0.4 of an acre. And here's the site plan. So you see here on the right, the red building, building A is the residential building. There are 10 studios, which would all be the affordable units, 35 1-bedroom units and 4 2-bedroom units. And here's some exterior elevations. This is just summarizing actually what I've mostly said. Right now, the developers we have a development cost of $9 million. I think that cost is a year old. We know construction costs have gone up 40%, but at the same time, what we're really looking for is a tax value. So I still think this is a very useful number. I think it will be less than this ultimately when the project is valued at CO. So just to explain, the points get complicated and there's lots of things going on here, but we've got the 20% affordable and the additional 5% of units affordable at 80% AMI. The way they've structured their deal doesn't exactly fit our point matrix, if you will. So here's the things they're doing that work with our policy, but they're still actually, that additional 5% at 80% and below, they're not really getting points for that. So that's kind of an additional benefit that's here. They are looking to house someone from the homeless by name list, which I don't know if that's used very frequently, but that's a great opportunity. We met with Emily Ball yesterday and talked about how that process goes in matching somebody who will fit into your project and be successful. They get 10 points for location, 10 points because this is a part of the site is a brownfield. They are going to do energy efficiency, green building certification, solar panels, and universal design. So they're trying to, obviously get to that 105 point max as well. Any questions about that before I move on? I'll just, so for the Luigi, we are using that $9 million value.
Sasha,
Yes, ma'am.
can we go back to that?
Sure.
So the first line, the 20% of units affordable at 60% AMI for 30 years.
Yeah, so
That, that is part of the deed restriction. Is that true or not?
yes.
So, I guess I'm just struggling a little bit with the fact that we're giving them points in the Luigi for something that they already agreed to do as part of the deed restriction. And so, I guess help me with that.
Right. So staff, we discussed this a little bit earlier today. And I guess staff has been feeling like this has been, they discussed this with past staff. It has been kind of an ongoing conversation, I think, for the past 6 years that they would be, applying for these funds. And staff knew that all along. I think if we had given them that land at a zero value, for $1 or whatever, I think then there's a stronger argument there. So I think because they paid market value, to me, I feel like it's a fair deal. But I don't know if Nikki, you want to say anything else about that, or?
I just think the other point that we'll make is that the sale was quite some time ago, and I know they've been trying to work on the development here. Sasha, the date on the deed restriction might point to that initial sales date, so it's somewhat predated other incentives that we've used. And when we were looking through our portfolio of investments, the other project that comes to mind is 360 Hilliard. So that was another one where we actually saw that layering of incentives to really help make the project pencil. What we have seen with this project is the addition of the other things. I think, we brought this to their attention as well, that the deed restriction did require that, which is why I think they're attempting to work with, the 5% at 80%, really to provide additional benefits so that the case can be made that this is deserves a Luigi. And I know we have some representatives of the development team here today as well, so they're happy to talk through that. But I know with also with construction costs, it became also just again needing to make the numbers work and understanding the subsidies that are required. The last thing that I think is point to mention is the location is very desirable. So having these units in that neighborhood is something that we certainly support.
Okay. I mean, I love the project. I think it's really great. I guess I'm trying to figure out like why did they agree to that deed restriction? I mean, and if they agreed to that, then how come we're so? I'm struggling with this one. And again, not that I mean, I love the project. I think it's great. I do agree that there's some value associated with that additional 5% that they've thrown in. I think that's fabulous, but I guess I'm just struggling a little bit with that 30 points. So anyway, just keep Sage, you have your hand up. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rambling here.
That's okay. Interesting point about giving it the full 30 points. I see what you mean now. I want to remind us of a couple things because I was involved on the Affordable Housing Committee when this project did come through. And I do recall there was discussion of would it be Luigi. Now, at the time, Luigi had never been successfully used. The first project that opened doors was 360 Hilliard. And at the time, I believe that this came up. Luigi at the time was still at 10% of units required affordable. We have since moved it to 20. So just a little background, because I think what's happening here is we're realizing we need to reevaluate all our programs, like Deborah said. And this one's kind of caught in the queue while we're making the changes because it's been so many years. So I don't want us to stop this project from moving forward. I think if we want to change our policies and say that if we do an affordable direct sale, that discludes you from another incentive program, then we'll need to write that policy. Because I think this, we were just at the time still hoping to make Luigi work. So it was a different conversation, but I do understand the concern. I'm glad that the developer came back with an increase, and now it's 25% affordable units, if I recall. And I think I'll have some comments later about parking, but I think that's all I have right now.
Okay, you can, if you want to go on, or I see Damie seems to, if she wants to
Good
chime in,
afternoon.
you're welcome to.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and council members. I am happy to also add that we are adding that additional 5%. I know you noted that the 20% of the units were part of the original deed restriction, but the additional 5% is in fact 2 additional units that will be constructed in order to receive this grant. And our estimated construction cost is about $550,000. I'm not sure exactly what the grant award will be, but I just wanted to highlight that point that it is a significant addition to this project, and that's all toward affordability. And again, those units will be at 80% AMI for another 30 years, and the Luigi only requires 20 years. And I understand that your focus was on those initial 20% units, but this project is getting 105 points out of the Luigi matrix and that means that, remember, we're not getting credit for the 5%, but we are adding about, I think, don't quote my math here, but I think at least 75 points in addition to the 30 points that we've gotten from those 20% that were part of the original deed restriction. So I'd just like to, make sure that you're considering that as well as you're factoring in what additional benefits we're offering to the community on this one. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the other items that are not the first line on this, I don't have any issues. I think that they're all great. And I guess I'm mentally trying to figure out, well, okay, what does the extra 5% do? So anyway, do you want to go ahead, Sasha, and you have more?
Sure. So as it's using this construction value for the math, currently they're paying around $1,000, $1,050 per year in taxes on the vacant land, and they'll continue to do that throughout the grant period. The difference between the estimated value, in the future is $35,000 a year. So the total grant would be somewhere around $850,000, so $753,000, which is about $62,000, almost $63,000 per unit. That estimate will be tweaked, obviously, when we get to CO with the county valuation. And then after year 21, the city will begin receiving those taxes, into the future. Let's see. Walk and bike scores. The HCD committee reviewed this last week and voted 3-0 in favor of the approval. So, I meant to take the second bullet point out, but it, as you know, it'll be tonight at City Council as well. So staff is recommending approval. I guess I don't have a motion slide here, so that's the end of the presentation.
I mean, I just sort of penciled it out and said, so my concern is about 28% of the request. If you took the 30 out, which isn't, I don't think that's completely fair, because I do think they've added this extra 5%. Just to clarify what my thinking is, but I may change my mind tonight, but I'm not prepared to support this at the full 105 points right now. I'm gonna try to massage my brain and see if I can get there. But I'd be happy to entertain a motion to take this forward to City Council.
I'm happy to make a motion. I wonder if by tonight could someone run the numbers of moving that 30 points, what amount of years that would total?
It's about
6 years.
Yeah.
Every 5 points is a year. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, I would like to make a motion to recommend that City Council approve the land use incentive grant application for Reed Creek Greenway Plaza project, also known as 421 Broadway Street.
I'll second Sandra.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilwoman Kilgore?
Aye.
Councilwoman Turner?
Aye.
And I'm a no. So with that, it will go forward to council with this committee's recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I am really excited about the project. It's just this struggle for me. So Sasha, do you have anything else? Any more? Luigi, come on. We want to hear 9 or 10 of them. Actually, we do want to hear more, because, this was intended to be, I think, we want this to be a really powerful tool, and, trying to get it to help to get more affordable housing is really the goal. It's not to hold back money, I think, is the goal. So with that, I'm going to open it up to public comment. We did not receive any comments prior to the meeting, but I'm wondering if I'm going to ask staff. Beth, do we have anybody in the queue?
Nope, no callers in the queue.
Okay. Well, so the thousands of people out there are just being silent and completely approving what we've done at this committee. So, all right. Any other comments or questions from the committee members? Okay. With that, I will adjourn the meeting and look forward to spending a really long night with all of you tonight. Talk later.